And that brings us to 7:53 at KNEB, and time for the News Extra program, today brought to you by Gehring Civic Center. And joining us this morning are Superintendent of Schools for Scottsbluff, Rick Myles, and Board President Bob Kinsey. And we're here to visit about a topic that'll be on the agenda for the meeting tonight, and that is the Qualified Capital Purpose Undertaking Bonds. And that is a mouthful. Bob, give us the short-term version of what that's all about.
The short term in school board jargon is QCPUF fund, and it's awful confusing to some people, but what we wanted to do today was make sure that the public was aware that we'll be discussing that this evening at our board meeting. And it is a bonding capability that the school districts have to borrow money outside of the lid limit, and we have used this and currently have a QCPUF bond that we used for the high school geothermal project and part of the middle school project. We've been able to pay that down enough that we can once again borrow that money at a lower interest rate than we did in the past, and we can utilize those funds for some of our facility needs that we're facing without impacting the amount the tax dollar asking. And Mr. Myles has a list of things that we're going to try to do with those capital improvement funds.
Okay.
To address that.
All right, and it is qualified. That's the key word there, isn't it, Rick, that you can only use them for certain things on your agenda?
I think the best way for people to look at that is it's all the boring things that nobody will ever see.
Yeah.
It's things behind the walls, under the floors, in the ground. It also covers things like brickwork. Our buildings are of the age that they were very well built, mostly because a lot of them were built in 1930s. But it's also 1930 brickwork. So one of the things that we've seen in our buildings is that we've got a real steady need to maintain those facades of the building and replace the mortar, and it's time-consuming, expensive. It'll help with that. The other thing that is of issue is the sewer pipes. The old sewer pipes are crunching and cracking under the ground, and in buildings that are 80 some odd years old, they just weren't built to last that long. So again, it's an expensive thing, and the state, I think, does a really nice, smart program with the QCPUF bonds in that if you look at those things in a school that are just absolutely essential to the school continuing to run, those are the things that really have to get done. And so many schools are older, especially in rural Nebraska, that I think these dollars in this program helps out a lot.
What's our asking on this? $3.1 million?
Mm-hmm. It is. We're looking at the potential of closer to $4 million worth of projects, and we're going to see what emerges, what kind of prices we can get on these things. And what it'll do is it will take care of everything from the boiler and the associated asbestos issues over at Lake Minnetonka. It will take care of lots of tuck pointing, which is, of course, the term for the brickwork at the old pieces of the original pieces of Bluffs Middle School. At Longfellow, we have a lot of replumbing to do. We have to upgrade again the galvanized piping. Roosevelt, again, the galvanized piping. Duct improvements. Westmore, work with ventilation is really needed. And we also want to replace and upgrade some of the infrastructure of the school and the kitchen and so on. And then at Lincoln Heights, lots of brickwork to be done. That's our biggest issue right now of all the problems with QCPUF eligible projects is Lincoln Heights brickwork. We need to work on that. Then at Splash, we think we can include maybe replacement of the coils, which is going to at least get us by for a bit with the ventilation system over at the pool. That just went out a few weeks ago, and this project will qualify, and that'll be about $50,000 of the project. Then we have little things here or there, and we might even be able to do some work actually with the water that collects and the drainage issues that we have with the parking lot outside the bus barn just north of the middle school, and that might qualify as well. So lots of projects, and those are the things that school districts, any organization needs to keep up with if it's going to be a viable building to serve kids for a long time to come.
All right. Superintendent Rick Myles and Board President Bob Kinsey with us on the News Extra program. More in a moment.
Making the ordinary event extraordinary. You want a beautiful venue with added value, including a professional staff to assist in event planning, and the Meat Shop, a catering food trend for 30 years. It's all happening in Gearing, and we're just around the corner from you. Call West Nebraska's premier multifunction facility at 436-6888 or visit www.gearingciviccenter.com. The Gearing Civic Center. True inspiration, beyond marvelous.
On the News Extra program with Superintendent of Schools in Scottsbluff, Rick Myles, and Board President Bob Kinsey, visiting a little bit about these qualified capital purpose bonds that they'll be asking for. And also a meeting coming up, Rick, on the 24th. You're going to be talking with the public about projects, at the high school?
Yeah, all these things that we've talked about will take care of a lot of the infrastructure needs throughout the district, but what it's not going to address is the long-term needs and the issues that we have specifically with the high school facility, and that's the part of the project plan for the district, I think, that's most critical and most important. So on the 24th, we have a meeting. It's in conjunction with our district advisory council, which is open to the public. We send out invitations and we advertise it as much as we can, and we've had nice-sized groups there. What we try to do is get people together who have interest, curiosity, expertise, knowledge about a particular topic. And the topic on the 24th at 6 o'clock over at the high school is going to be the future of the high school facility. And that's really looking at the facility itself, specifically the whole classroom wing of the building, most importantly. And it was built in the early 70s, and we have issues with that structure that I know the staff would like to talk about, and we've got to make some decisions about what we want to do.
Okay. Well, Bob, did you sign up for all these all these projects? I know preachers and people that sit on parish boards go, I didn't get into this to be a roofing contractor. It's amazing what all you got to go through.
That's probably one thing that I've realized. I'm into my, fourth term now of the board, that a lot of people that decide to do this, first of all, you need to do this as part of the community, pitch in and help. But it does take a lot of time. It's not just one meeting a month. It's several meetings. And Mr. Myles, I had to give him a hard time a couple of weeks ago. He had every night of the week tied up for me. And yes. And, you have to remember that you are the elected representative of the public. You have the fiduciary responsibility for their money. And you have to stay on top of this. And, I usually devote a couple hours every Sunday afternoon before a board meeting to just studying the board packet and being up to speed on it and doing some of my own research on the side. So it's important to really commit yourself to things like this if you're going to step up and do them.
Well, we ask you to lead on, and we appreciate you coming in.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
All right, thanks.